A mysterious envelope. One word, truth. And when President Trump opened it on live TV, the world stopped watching everything else. President Donald Trump sat across from one of the most popular talk show hosts in America. Every word, every gesture was being broadcast live to an audience eager to see what he would say next. Trump looked confident, his signature red tie perfectly straight, his tone steady and firm as he discussed his upcoming plans and hinted at something big coming soon. The audience leaned in, captivated. But then, something happened that no one, not even the production crew, was prepared for. Midway through the interview, just as President Trump began outlining his next major political move, the host suddenly paused. With a strange, almost cautious smile, he leaned forward, reached under the desk, and slowly pulled out a sealed, ivory-colored envelope. The studio lights seemed to flicker for a split second. The audience quieted down immediately. You could hear a pin drop. The sound of the envelope sliding across the polished desk echoed through the silence. Trump paused mid-sentence, his eyes narrowing slightly. He raised an eyebrow and gave a half-smile, the kind of look he often used when he was both amused and curious. "What's this?" he asked, his voice calm but with a hint of suspicion. The host hesitated for a moment, glancing toward the cameras as if unsure whether to continue. Then he took a deep breath and said, "Mr. President, this was delivered to our studio this morning, and it has your name on it. No return address, no sender. Just one word written on the back. Truth." The crowd gasped. A ripple of whispers spread through the audience. The camera zoomed in on the envelope, elegant, old-fashioned, sealed with a deep red wax stamp. The single word truth glimmered faintly under the studio lights, written in bold black ink. Trump leaned back in his chair, studying the envelope with keen interest. For a moment, he didn't say a word. Then he looked up at the host, smirked slightly, and said, "Truth, huh? Well, that's always interesting." The host nodded nervously. The tension was almost unbearable. All eyes were on President Trump. Would he open it? Was it a message, a warning, or something else entirely? Whatever was inside that mysterious envelope, everyone in the room, and millions watching around the world, knew one thing. This moment was going to change everything. Before handing it over, the host took a deep breath and began explaining how the mysterious envelope had made its way to the studio, a story that was just as strange as the letter itself. It had all started early that morning, around 6 a.m., long before the show began. The studio's night security guard, a man named Carl, noticed a black SUV slowly pulling up outside the building. The windows were tinted so dark he couldn't see who was inside. The vehicle idled for a moment, engine humming quietly in the pre-dawn silence. Then the passenger door opened. A tall man stepped out dressed in a plain black coat, cap, and dark sunglasses. Odd for that early hour. Without saying a word, he walked straight to the front desk, placed a single ivory-colored envelope on the counter, and turned back toward the SUV. "Sir, can I help you?" Carl had called out, but the man didn't even look back. Within seconds, he was gone. The SUV pulled away, disappearing into the morning fog. When the production staff arrived, they found the envelope sitting neatly on the desk. At first, they thought it was just fan mail, nothing unusual. The studio received hundreds of letters and packages daily, especially when the president was scheduled to appear. But when one of the assistants picked it up, she noticed something strange. There was no return address, no postage, no markings of any kind. Just one thing stood out, the name Donald J. Trump, written in shimmering gold ink across the front, and a single word stamped on the back, truth. That got everyone's attention. The producers gathered around, debating whether to open it or throw it away. One of them even joked, "Maybe it's a fan letter with glitter," but something about it didn't feel like a prank. The wax seal was heavy and embossed with an intricate symbol no one recognized. Finally, they decided to keep it sealed and hand it directly to the host, just in case. Now, hours later, that same envelope sat in President Trump's hands. The studio lights glinted off the gold letters as the audience held their breath. The host, voice trembling slightly with excitement, asked, "Mr. President, Do you want to open it here? Live on air? Trump looked at the envelope for a moment, then let out a short, confident laugh, the kind of laugh that made millions lean closer to their screens. Well, he said with a grin, why not? Let's see what the mystery is. The camera zoomed in as his fingers tore gently at the wax seal. The entire nation waited, breathless, to see what would be revealed inside. Inside the envelope was a single folded letter and a small USB drive carefully taped to the paper. The letter looked ordinary at first glance. Crisp white paper, typed neatly in black ink with no signature at the bottom. No logo, no heading, nothing to identify who it came from. Just a few short lines of text that somehow felt heavier than an entire book. President Trump unfolded the letter slowly, his expression unreadable. He began to scan the words silently, his eyes moving back and forth across the page. At first he looked amused, maybe expecting a joke or some dramatic prank. But as he kept reading, that amusement faded. His smile disappeared. His eyebrows furrowed. And then, for a brief moment, his face showed something rarely seen, genuine concern. The host noticed immediately. The tension in the studio thickened. The audience shifted in their seats, whispering nervously. Cameras zoomed in tight, catching every flicker of Trump's expression. Finally, the host broke the silence, his voice unsteady. Mr. President, is everything all right? Trump didn't respond right away. He kept staring at the page, then slowly lifted his eyes to the camera, his tone suddenly calm but serious. Whoever sent this, he said quietly, they know things. Things most people don't. The room froze. The host, now visibly anxious, leaned forward. Can you share what it says? Trump hesitated, then looked back at the letter. After a long pause, he began reading aloud, his voice steady but heavy with meaning. Mr. Trump, you've been watched. The events you are about to face have already been set in motion. This drive contains information that could change not just your future, but America's. Gasps erupted from the crowd. The host looked stunned, glancing toward the producers behind the cameras as if silently asking, is this real? Trump lifted the small USB drive between his fingers. It gleamed under the lights, plain, silver, and unmarked. This, he said slowly, this could be huge, the audience murmured, flashes from phone cameras lighting up the room. The host, still in disbelief, asked, do you have any idea who might have sent it? Trump smiled faintly. Not an answer, but a hint. Let's just say, he replied, I have my suspicions. And with that, the mystery deepened. A single envelope, a few cryptic words, and a drive that could hold secrets powerful enough to shake the nation. After the show ended, the internet went into absolute chaos. Within minutes, clips of the mysterious envelope moment flooded every major social platform. TikTok was filled with slowed-down replays and wild theories. X, formerly Twitter, exploded with hashtags and speculation. YouTube lit up with reaction videos, breakdowns, and so-called expert analyses. Everyone had a theory, and no two were the same. Some claimed it was a publicity stunt designed to boost ratings for the show. Others were convinced it was a carefully planned setup to embarrass President Trump or distract from something bigger, happening behind the scenes. But then came a new rumor, one that sent shockwaves through social media. Several anonymous accounts began claiming that the USB drive found in the envelope contained classified documents, hidden recordings, and communications involving high-ranking officials both in the U.S. and overseas. People started dissecting the video frame by frame. Conspiracy channels pointed out the symbol on the envelope's wax seal, arguing it matched old government insignias. Reddit threads with hundreds of comments debated who the mysterious messenger could have been. A whistleblower? An insider? Maybe even a former intelligence officer? Within just a few hours, mysterious envelope was trending worldwide. News outlets ran continuous coverage. Talk show panels argued over whether it was real or fabricated. Even late-night comedians joked about it, but everyone was watching because nobody could explain it. 3 days later, the original talk show host broke their silence. Sitting alone at the same desk, they went live again, this time with a serious tone. We've been told, the host announced carefully, that the envelope and the USB drive were handed over to federal investigators for verification. The announcement only added more fuel to the fire. Viewers expected updates within hours. But then something odd happened. The investigators went completely silent. There were no press releases, no statements, not even a denial. It was as if the story had been swallowed whole. Meanwhile, President Trump began posting cryptic messages online. One post read, "The truth always finds a way out." Another followed a few hours later. "Watch the news. Big things coming." Those two lines alone reignited the frenzy. Millions of people speculated what he meant. And by midnight, everyone was asking the same question. What was on that drive? And why was everyone suddenly so quiet? A week later, President Trump made his return to the public eye. But this time, it wasn't in a studio under bright lights. It was on a massive stage at one of his trademark rallies, surrounded by thousands of supporters waving flags and chanting his name. The energy was electric, and everyone knew something big was coming. As the music faded, Trump stepped up to the podium, wearing his signature confident smile. But this time, he wasn't just there to talk politics. In his right hand, he held up a small silver flash drive, one that looked identical to the mysterious USB drive from the envelope. "Many of you saw what happened on TV," he began, his voice booming through the loudspeakers. "You saw that envelope. You saw the message. And now I'm here to tell you it was real," the crowd erupted. Cheers filled the air as people raised their phones, recording every second. Trump waited for the noise to die down, then leaned toward the microphone. "That letter," he continued, "contained information that proves we've been lied to. Information that will be shared soon, and when it comes out, it's going to shake this country to its core." Those words sent a wave of shock through both the audience and the media watching live. Reporters scrambled to verify what he meant. Was it real evidence, a bluff, or part of a larger, carefully planned game that no one else could see? Within 24 hours, leaks began spreading online. Anonymous accounts claimed to have seen snippets of what was on the drive, documents, emails, and recordings that hinted at secret deals and covert alliances involving some of the most powerful figures in global politics. No one could confirm if the leaks were genuine, but it didn't matter. The story had already taken on a life of its own. Every news channel, every social feed, every political talk show was buzzing. The mysterious envelope had become more than a moment. It was a movement. The talk show that first aired the scene skyrocketed in views, breaking records and dominating headlines. Analysts called it the broadcast that blurred the line between truth and theater. And as the rally drew to a close, Trump delivered one final line: quiet, deliberate, and haunting. Sometimes the truth doesn't knock. It just shows up in an envelope. The lights dimmed. The music thundered. And as cameras faded out, one question echoed across the nation: who sent that envelope, and what else might they know?